Yo, guys, my heart is just so broken. I've got so many issues, so many challenges, like, yeah. I guess it is what it is, alright? I'll have to repeat everything I said. I spoke for a whole hour and I lost the whole footage because when I tried to save, it all was gone. It just choked up and could not record. These are the challenges I'm facing. This is the death that I am eradicating. I am trying to live despite being this badly restricted, despite having no ability to push my life along. The message that I spoke, I felt like it was so high quality that, frankly, like, I don't even think I can ever do one up on it, okay? But I'm going to have to. As a result, I'm gonna have to skip exercise. It's already 9 at night. So I'm gonna have to try and basically recall everything that I spoke. By the time I get to the end of this particular discussion, you will understand just how menacing this cult is. I don't even know who it's a guy. I don't even want to check. I'm just gonna talk as much as I want to talk and get what I need to get out and explain the true core nature of this particular story. Not story, but exposition, whatever you want to call it, okay? But I'm disheartened severely. And it is things like this, me losing footage, a whole hour's worth of a conversation, that are basically effectively the motivation for such nefarious cults as the one that I am describing right now, to get me to kill myself, to get me to settle, to compromise, and to also continuously use women against women. I get to it's a guy, and like I said, I'm not gonna check. I just have to make sure that I keep saving my content in half-an-hour intervals at least, so I don't labor for nothing. Yeah, but Nikibuwa for a whole hour. And what I was speaking was so, goodness gracious, I was about to seal the point. I was actually about to do a third part that was only going to be about maybe 20 minutes long. Just so, again, because I was done. I was basically done explaining this. Now I have to go back to the drawing board. These frustrations in my life, this very uncomfortable life that I am living, cause me so much pain. And they cause me so much frustration, even with God. That I'm like, but I'm working for you. I'm working for you. And look at how challenged I am. Practically unable to properly work. Have a phone that won't enable me to record. Can you not enable something along? But you see, that's just the thing. That is exactly just the thing. The primary mission for such cults as these, where Christians are concerned, is to get them to be fluffy, flaccid, and watered down against their God. That they might not be so poignant anymore. That they might not be so powerful anymore. Against the occult. We are the bane of their existence. And they're always trying to wipe us off the face of the map. And it is imperative to realize that. So that whenever you are frustrated by challenges, in even doing ministry, that you will not be tempted to say that God has forsaken you. Because they want you to get to a point where you feel like God is not doing his part in bringing you to where you need to be. It is in getting you to feel that way about God and so bash your fist against him that they then finally, it's been a minute, pierce through into you and neutralize you. Their only strategy against Christians is watering down, because no weapon formed against us prospers, but they try to make us down tools. They try to make us down the veil of protection. They try to get us, since we are behind an impregnable fortress, they try to get us to get out, and so expose ourselves to bullets. Get out from the covering of God and expose ourselves to bullets. But what's important is to recognize the scriptures for what they always have been. Full of admonition, of warning, that the world hates disciples, that in this world you will have many troubles, but take heart, I've overcome the world. The righteous man might fall 7 times, but he gets up each time. I fell after talking for an hour. And here it is that I'm talking again rather than letting myself be flattened. If I were to give up and delete this entire series because I'm tired, I'm busy recording on a phone that doesn't work, I would go to bed so melancholic, I would be so depressed and so incredibly suicidal that these people would be ever so closer, just one ever so marginally closer to getting me to finally die, capitulate, or do something strange. I am explaining a very important topic, and I spoke for an hour and lost everything. I told you guys that I don't jot anything down, I don't plan, I don't read off a script. It would be easier if I was reading off a script, because then that just means that I will be regurgitating verbatim from a teleprompter everything I say, so The only inconvenience would be that I would have to read it again for an hour, but I have to recollect all the things I spoke and try to refashion them in the same way that I did an hour ago, 2 hours ago, an hour, because I've just started talking now. I have to bring all those points forward, but I guess, you know, apart from him, I can do nothing. He will bring it back. So let's just get straight into it. May the Lord give me grace to bring forward what I need to say. I don't know where I last ended off, but I believe I was speaking about, I mean, I wish I could actually go and listen to like if it lets a guy, so, but you know what, I will likely be able to catch up from where I left off, okay? I proper don't even know what I was explaining, and I wish I did. I wish I did. But I'm not stopping this. I'm just gonna, yeah. I was talking about how there is quite a nefarious organization. Yes, that started go KZN. Yes, let me just, if at all I'm repeating some of the things in the last part, guys, have mercy. I lost my bearings, and I don't have time to be going back on a video that I recorded listening to myself, because frankly I don't like the sound of my own voice sometimes. It makes me cringe. So let's just start from where we left off, okay? More or less, the cult was such that it started in KZN, which would be the tantamount or of the misogynistic hub of South Africa. And what happened over there is that so many men were, upon visiting KZN, consulting at this cult, that they made an observation. They were consulting at this cult and then going back to Joburg and basically getting their wildest dreams fulfilled, where it is that they wanted to subdue their girlfriends and their wives. They were consulting at this particular cult, KwaZulu-Natal, and by word of mouth going back to their provinces. They were going back to the Eastern Cape to Gauteng. They were going back to the Western Cape to Northwest. They were going back to Limpopo and Mpumalanga. I could go on. And in so proliferating the success that they gained from this cult, KwaZulu-Natal, it grew, it burgeoned, and they started getting more out-of-province clients, customers. Men that were going to them, traveling all the way to KZN just to subdue their girlfriends. And upon then, members of this cult noticing that they're getting a boom of clientele from different provinces, they saw an untapped market. They realized that this thing does not have to stay KwaZulu, and that it can actually be taken over, branched out into the, what do you call this thing, that it can be branched out into the rest of the country. So they took some of their leaders, their heads over there, and they planted them in all the other provinces to basically pilot this particular program in subduing women under the iron fist rule of men, to pilot it in other provinces, and it caught fire. It caught fire. They were able to easily recruit off university campuses men that already from just university already wanted to subdue their girlfriends. I don't know which part it is that I was speaking about this, but I suspect it might have been in the latter part, the one that I lost, where I made an analogy using two exterior science students at Wits, a boy and a girl couple dating at varsity, and the dude making a decision from varsity that a whole actuary is going to sit at home and raise children while he goes and becomes an actuary in the market. So degree has to be underneath. Yeah, she's going to go and grab it like a piece of paper and put it in a shoe, and he will be the tooth fairy that rocks up and puts money in that shoe the next morning. He will be the one to provide for an entire actuary with his own salary, restricting this woman to limitedness, basically just studying and doing nothing with her degree. Yeah, these men were able to recruit from varsity campuses, able to recruit in corporates, men that have got this particular desire, able to recruit in like neighborhoods where they stayed, etc., until it caught fire. It's sufficiently enough for them to actually build headquarters in each province. They've got a headquarters, got Debe and KwaZulu-Natal, and now they've got little sub-headquarters. This cult, I believe this was in the second part that I mentioned this as well, got so big in the 2010s. So basically, by the time it got to like 2010, 2011, 12, 13, it got so big that what do you call this thing? The size of it was such that men in the some of the most prolific men in the country are part of it in every sphere of society. Go KwaZulu, not KwaZulu Natal only, sorry, but across the provinces, such that some of the most prolific producers in the entertainment industry belong to this cult. And it can also account, therefore, I believe this was in the second part, I'm not sure if it was in the first or the second part or what, for the gender bias unto polygamy that you started to see around 2015, 2014, 2013, 2016 in the entertainment industry, in shows like Rhythm City, in shows like Scandal, Uzalo, where they started to all of a sudden have a character in there that would rise up, that would take up wives, more than one wife. He would start out with one girl and then be torn between two chicks and want to marry them both, and they would both end up embracing this. It is because of this cult that they were trying to proliferate this, because they realized that the entertainment industry is very influential to change people's narratives. And so if you want to soften women's hearts towards the prospect of polygamy, taking as many wives as a man wants to, put it and make it, glamorize it through the entertainment industry. Glamorize it in the entertainment industry. In these shows, these women start out rebellious, essentially, against the narrative, until they then are now happy to be sister wives to like one dude that's like running the show. And he is unyielding. He doesn't barge. He starts out with one wife, and then next thing he wants to take a second one. This is because members of some people in the entertainment industry belong to this cult, and they are using media to proliferate the agenda. They've got a quota now that they have grown successfully across the whole country, the quota of which is to get to a certain percentage of black women by a certain date. So for example, I believe this was within the second part that I spoke about this, if they wanted maybe 30 to 40% of women by 2046 in the country, to all black women. This is literally, let me just put this out there, it is a cult against black women. It's against black women. They're not targeting Indians, they're not targeting coloreds, so they're trying to make black girls look like the most unsuccessful single demographic amidst women in the country. They're trying to make us look like Dala and Tanda Tinu Koropa, and that's all we can do. That's what's good. So I mean, proper, like the Indian girl with whom you were competing for grades in matric is destined, according to this cult, to slay you later on in life, when you had an equal opportunity to rather slay her. That's what these guys are saying. Like, yes, the misogyny in the black community is just astronomical. It's out of this world. Anyway, whatever, right? So if they've got this quota, how it is that they gun for it is hanyane, right? They first started out, like I said, in KZN, and then they branched out. You see, now my train of thought is lost because I get a guy, but whatever. They branch out all across the country, and they enter into the provinces. They then start to be grandiose, like a company having an IPO, going public, and now you've got, like, literally the sky's the limit. You can end up getting to a point where, like, literally all the women, the black women in the country, are sitting barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. But there is then global realities. There is then a global, expectations. Ain't nobody ever going to trust a South Africa that is a Stepford country, where the black community has got nothing but Stepford wives, where now all of a sudden black girls all don't want to work. Now all of a sudden, like the epidemic of unemployment amidst black girls, it's just increasing in a country where, first of all, black people are included in diversity quotas, statistics, especially black girls, because of the previous disadvantage of black girls. So given that some of the men who belong to this cult are politicians, premiers, municipal councillors, mayors, given that some of them are politicians, they cannot for the life of them allow a country of black girls to be unsuccessful in all of Africa. It's going to make the whole country look dumb. So they cannot afflict all black girls. They cannot afflict all black women. They've got to allow some black women to be CEOs, some black women to be MDs, some black women to be thriving in corporate, project managers, business analysts. They've got to allow some black women to start businesses, win tenders. They've got to look as if though they're actually pushing the agenda of women along. Because women empowerment is a whole big fat expectation across the world. They would get unhappy eyes of the global community looking at them if now all black women are going back to the days of slavery. They cannot cannot do that, therefore. But they've got to stealthily worm this in. They want a big enough percentage of black women to be unemployed that they hold the basically grandiosity of wealth in the black community. In the men, they are trying to create a domesticated force of black women and also limit or restrict what black women can do, how far they can go. And those that they allow to succeed have got to be closely monitored, because there cannot be too many of them. There cannot be too many of them. We cannot continue to allow them to grow above us, because at the end of the day, there will always be us who want our women barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. And unfortunately, some of the barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen desires that we have are of very ambitious women, and we cannot then just go on right ahead and force such ambitious women to sit at home unless we manipulate them with spirits. Okay, so the quota then, I would imagine, would first start out perhaps like 10% of black girls in the country. If you can get to 10 to 15% of them by a certain date, by 36, by 2029 or whatever, if you can get 10% of black girls that would have otherwise gone and grabbed their futures to now be like Stepford wives, if you can get them to now be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, you have achieved somewhat of the goal. And then once we've gotten 10%, then it'll move on to becoming 15 and then 20 until we get to maybe like 30% of black women, following which we will then stop. 35% and then we'll stop. Maybe 40% and then we will stop, because we cannot allow 100% of black women to be sitting at home. We just need to make them look as if though they don't want their careers, that this is Africa and it's kind of backward. They don't want ABC. And if at all you can raise a woman in a household where mom was, yes, fine, very intelligent, if anything she even had a degree, but she chose to stay home and raise the children, you then increase the likelihood that the daughter will follow suit, that the children that come forward following that will follow suit. I had a friend like that, a Jehovah's Witness in high school, who had a stay-at-home mom that was a door-to-door Jehovah's Witness, blah blah, all that jazz, and she was an extreme academic, a straight A student and everything, went on and got a degree and then sat down at home just like her mom afterwards. Look, there are women who want that. I made mention, I believe, in the previous part, I don't know if I got to speak this, but I did make mention of the fact that I would have been that. I would not have minded, especially after coming to Christ. I never ever had strong desires to just grow and fly up the corporate ladders, trampolining up it at the expense of family. I always wanted family first. But when a man now is shoving a pill down your throat to stay at home, that's an abusive man that you cannot trust yourself being dependent on. So therefore there is a rebellion that will rise up in you. And that has been the issue that has happened in South Africa. This strategy has grown so effervescently. It has grown such feathers and wings and fangs and all different kinds of menacing growths on the body, scales, that it now brewed a secondary problem for these men and therefore the country. It's burned in the nation a brand spanking new collateral damage, if you want to call it that, where it is that here it is that a whole bunch of random boys are being influenced to convert their smart girlfriends into pregnant daisies that are just going to be scrubbing floors around them. And that's all they're doing. Ditching their ideas of university. A whole bunch of women are dropping out of school before they graduate. A whole bunch of women are giving dudes babies before they're ready to pop babies. A whole bunch of women are abandoning their dreams in order to embrace a nightmare of a boyfriend. But you see, the thing about witchcraft, and I keep saying this over and over and over again, ultimately at some point it begins to glitch and it begins to twitch, it begins to spaz, it has an epileptic fit on the floor. The individual in question that has been put in a position to suffer want under sorcery will wake up, do you understand, in this situation that she did not sign up for, and recognize what she truly longs for, and so try to gun for it anyway. The individual in question will see that I never wanted this when I was growing up, a lack of satisfaction. People are not puppets on a string. We are made in the image of God. We cannot be manipulated by spirits indefinitely without our own cognition kicking in. We are going to have a cognitive dissonance whenever we are walking in a lack of realistic intention for our own lives. When we are veering off to the far extreme left, when our whole life's ambition was to go far right, on that day, you're going to wake up as you are en route finishing your far left expedition, and you're going to see that this is not what I want. And so what will you do? You will attempt to go back to the side that you started out wanting at all. So a woman that drops out of university at 3rd year, she will go back to school. The woman that quits her job and decides to raise the children will all of a sudden wake up in the middle of this like stay-at-home thing that she's doing and decide, I want to go back to work. And so start putting a CV in the market again. Start talking to some connections that she knew back in the day to see if they can't get her a job. Start like going online to see if at all under heaven she cannot start a business there. She will twitch and she will glitch and she will act in a way so as to suggest that I have woken up from the slumber I was put in at first. And so now that I've woken up, before my life is literally over, let me see what I can do to recoup my losses. And it is in the attempt to recoup losses that these men then feel a loss of control over that which they imagined they had subdued. And when this thing starts to twitch and glitch, there then is collateral damage called gender-based violence. The epidemic of gender-based violence was commenced by the resistance. In other words, by victims of this like wannabe make my girl a domestic goddess queen wife thing. Yeah, this whole Stepford virus, it's a Stepford virus converting women into little robots under the spells of like men. Yeah. When the Stepford virus starts to wear off and the woman's natural, like autoimmune response comes in, that's when these men are like, it's not doing what I wanted to do. And now the thing about being involved in witchcraft is that the devil, okay, when a spell is cast against a person, remember, according to John 10:10, the devil has come to steal, kill, and destroy, while Christ has come to give life and life abundantly. So the devil steals and kills and destroys from everybody ubiquitously, whether or not they belong to the kingdom of darkness. If at all he can withhold from a person that which is their ultimate end desired goal, he will do so, right? So everybody in question is stolen from by Satan. Let's just put that out there. In the witch as well as the victim, they're all stolen from, they're all destroyed, they are all killed. That's what's good. The devil is ubiquitous that way. He's also incredibly possessive of his victims. He is possessive because if at all you can keep a person in a cursed state, you then on that day proliferate what? A generational curse. So this woman will give birth to babies that are going to follow the grain of the mom. They're going to follow the grain of the dad. These kids are going to inevitably carry the burden of the hard knock, destitute demons of the parents. It's unfortunate. It's like you're giving birth to crack babies that are already addicted to some kind of drug the moment they come out of the wombs. Like it's over before it even starts. Now, if the devil can create crack babies out of a union of people, he is happy because then he's not going to have to work so hard to convince the children to follow in mom's and dad's footsteps, since it's going to come congenitally. It's going to come naturally. They're going to glide in it. It will be more nature than it will be nurture. So the devil works at the rudimentary level, at the congenital level, at nature, so as to basically employ less hard work in the future generations. Now that we've put that out there, when you're dealing with a witch and a witchy, a sorcerer and a sorcery, so a sorcerer and his or her victim, the sorcerer gets indwelt by demons, right? Because of their practicing of witchcraft. They're now demon possessed. The witchy is stolen from. The sorcery is stolen from. That theft, if they don't conquer it in Christ, if they don't go to the Lord to conquer that particular blockage, if they don't trample that serpent underfoot, and if they don't overwhelm all that power of the enemy, if they don't reverse, like as within, like a boomerang, that curse, in the name of Jesus, it will be proliferated. And so you have a congenital disorder in your baby. That's what's good. So it's already done deal in the kids, right? The witchy gotta deal with the devil from a vantage point of deliverance, but the witcher gotta deal with the devil from a vantage point of an exorcism, so therefore a deliverance. Absent of any such deliverance, this thing will be proliferated. Now in the person that is the witcher, the person that does the witchcraft, they get indwelt by demons. In the person that is the bewitched, they don't necessarily get indwelt by demons, but they get thwarted. Their ecosystem, their lives around them, their periphery gets manipulated by spirits unto frustration for the witchy. So the person that has been bewitched experiences what would be the equivalent or the tantamount of inhlanhla zakhe zivaliwe, or their luck has been closed, whatever, like fortunes. They just find everything just falling apart in their lives, and they are met with frustration. But in and of themselves, they're not demon possessed because they did not dabble, but they are facing demons that are closing doors around them, and so their lives are thwarted in some way. The witcher, however, Lord Tagatayo, he is in a far worse position. Why? Because he has got properly chilling, maxing and relaxing on a hammock, swinging in it like a camp chair inside their body. And so this is an individual that can be used against his own will, like a puppet on a string, to inspire a lot of violence in the ecosystem. Yes. So basically, when this woman is twitching and glitching because of the fact that she's not where she's supposed to be in life, and this is not what she wants, and then she starts applying for a job even though she agreed to stay at home and parent the children and whatnot. This guy, given that he is demon possessed by Usatani, who wants to keep this woman from ever breaking past her curse, because remember, he wants to maintain a congenital disorder in her body that is going to be transferred over to the children. Yeah, so ain't nobody coming out according to the devil. He is not going anywhere according to the devil. He wants everybody incarcerated in this union. So she can't get delivered. And this man is going to be utilized as that which blocks her deliverance. She cannot come up for air. She will rather die. So Lomon Lona, that is busy dabbling, using dark arts, is easily therefore then made to go and grab a knife and stab the girl. Is easily then made to go and grab a gun and shoot the girl. He is easily then made to go and grab an axe and disembody her, put her body in a duffel bag and then leave it on the side of the street to be discovered by some passerby. He is the random buffoon that is going to walk in what we now today in our country call gender-based violence. The epidemic of gender-based violence in this country has happened as a result of men trying to manipulate women, gadikare, witchcraft. And these women glitching and twitching because sorcery does not convert a person into a zombie. It only closes doors around them. And so they eventually wake up and realize, and when then they want to do rather what they want to do anyway, the witchcraft that causes these people to be very possessive over their victims then causes them to say, Uzopumalana in a casket, you are not going to leave. You are not going to do what I want you to do. They will feel so frustrated by the resistance of this person that the entity in them is going to say, kill her, gay. Just kill her. So all these guys that are busy shooting girlfriends dead, all these men that are busy killing their wives, hanging them, slapping them silly, throwing them against cupboards, and so on and so forth. The epidemic of gender-based violence in the country is as a result of Lama Totalana being so indwelt by demon spirits that they can't exercise self-control over their own bodies, and so they just kill. Bayabulala, or they beat up, or they incarcerate, they rape, they put in a basement and feed her motoho for days on end before anybody finds her. Witchcraft converts people into little killers. Do you understand what I'm saying? Danke. That's what I wanted to get at. So as a result of there being an increase in gender-based violence in the country, women now, abasatembi amadoda. Remember I told you earlier that black girls, we are naturally raised to be very serving, very docile to men, even when we are CEOs and stuff in corporates. That's what's good. Yeah. Well, when you're busy getting slapped silly and all your sisters around you are getting slapped silly and everybody's ending up in a duffel bag, body parts severed and chopped up and all. Yeah. You're gonna start looking at guys with a side eye. You're gonna start looking at dudes around some funny way. You're gonna start having issues. So when women are then being raised up in their hearts to resent and loathe men, there then is a retaliatory response in them that is misandric. So as women, let me save this content. I was able to save that, thank you, amen. So as women, what is this? Remember, black girls, initially when I started speaking Lana, I spoke about how it is that naturally we are trained to be very subserving of our men. The whole thing of us being in servitude to them, it was gladly done by us because we were just kind of trained in it. It was not a qualm or a striving that we were fighting against. We did not have the feist and the edge and the rebellion of Western women who are trying to act as if the roles between men and women don't matter. We tend to be very biblical that way, even though we are not getting our training from the Bible. It's more just njefela inheritance from ancestors downwards of the way that we've always been as women. However, that way of thinking is biblical, where it is that we basically just take our roles on and we're not complaining, we're not crying about it, we're not being feisty with independence. And I spoke about how it is that men from overseas are now like lacquer obsessed, these passport guys, with African women, and they're also lacquer obsessed with South American women, precisely because they still have maintained that thing in them that recognizes roles between men and women for what they are. Well, in Africa, it is eroding away that whole respect for roles because, no, never mind Africa, but let me just speak about South Africa, because of the increase of the epidemic of gender-based violence in the country. When you start start getting slapped silly despite how well you clean, when you start getting slapped silly despite how well you cook, despite how much you are bending over backwards for a guy that you are even paying the way of. Like, these women are so independent that now they are not only the domestic goddesses that they are, but they're also earning more than their men. And when you are serving under a man that you earn more than, you don't disrespect him as a result of that, and he is still passing you shit, giving you grief. He is still slapping you, killing you. He is still basically acting a gender-based violence fool. That's the kind of stuff that makes women look at men sideways. That is the kind of stuff that also causes women that were happy to serve, like as servants, like just being these domestic goddesses, to be like, why even am I washing dishes? So there was like there's been in the country a whole rebellion against these gangsters, these men, where it is that women are now becoming very androgynous, much like Western women. They are becoming androgynous. They are becoming resistant to the original African girl. Like, just 10 years ago, we were content with the original African girl. It wasn't broken. These men tried to fix it. They were greedy, they were rapacious. They did not want to just take Uguti. At least Lomfazi is happy to be a woman, even though she's also a CEO. For them, it was like, I want her at home. And when they tried to do this and their witchcraft glitched and twitched and the women wanted to get their own anyway, that's when they killed them. When upon killing them, after killing them, women made an observation that we're being butchered even though we are full of service. They then developed a misandry in them. Misandry is the opposite of misogyny, okay? A hatred for men. They became misandrous or misandric. Do you understand? And in their misandric disposition, the clout, therefore, of this cult started to dwindle, fade, because now women were deliberately refusing to be in certain unions with men. They were also choosing careers over romance, over babies, over marriage. And it's like basically whatever it is that they were doing was twitching, glitching. Their little machine was starting to spaz. So they came up with a brand spanking new idea. Given that now men were not trusted anymore in the country, there's now hashtag and my next hashtag men are trash, hashtag GBV, all different kinds of trends against all of this incendiary activity nefarious beings in the occult are doing against women in the country. It's causing this misandry in women, and the misandrous climate, these guys are now trying to reverse it. They are trying to counter it with women in the country waking up to recognize that if anything, the grandest destroyers of their souls and the grandest destroyers of their cause are not men but other women. They are trying to make it look as if though other women are the be all and end all of a culprit. But how in the world are they going to prosper to make other women look like they're the culprits? How are they going to do that when all of us are looking at them like they stank, like they don't brush their teeth, like they've got halitosis? How under heaven, when they are looking so nasty, are they going to turn the tides? Ooh, I know. Somebody came up with a bright sparky idea in the occult over there and was like, let's create Cinderella. They were like, are we creating Cinderella? Let's go and manufacture a Cinderella from scratch. That's what we're going to do. That's what's good. What's a Cinderella? A Cinderella phenomenon, we shall call it that, is basically the creation of a female who is mistreated ever so violently, vehemently so too, by women around her. She is mistreated by the female conglomerate until some dude in a onesie rocks up and rescues the day. A little bit of a Spider-Man, Superman, a little bit of the Flash, a little bit of a whatever cartoon character you can come up with to put in a position to rock up in a skinny little onesie and say, I'm here to save you from your evil stepmother, stepsister, alongside your evil grandmother. Every woman in your life is treating you like trash, girl, but guess what? Get rabubi, get mona, get the rescue, rabubi, yeah. Essentially, the orchestration of a disaster in a woman's life so as to also orchestrate the rescue from said disaster. They literally are out here concocting in their cauldron pots, manufacturing out of absolutely zero, hollow, naught and ash coming from their nether regions, for crying out loud. A whole crisis in a woman's life that she needs rescuing for. They are properly out here manufacturing in a cauldron damsels in distress. What the heck? They are manufacturing as in like a factory, and things are popping out of some machine that cuts up stuff. And the thing that's coming out is a broken, bruised woman that every woman in her life has abandoned. It's called the Cinderella phenomenon. They're trying to create fairy tale romances with a Spider-Man whose webs aren't even sticky. Yeah, flying into the rescue. And when the Spider-Man Rabubi does not prosper to catch this lady, then he becomes a little bit violent. Babulaya, basadi. And after the whole world turns against them for being as violent as they are, they try to change the narrative and say, look, okay, relax, blom. It's not us that are nasty. It's women. Look at them. The strategy of the cult changed. The whole, they're running a country, right? This cult is so massive that it's got powerful men branched out across all provinces of the nation, having its headquarters in KZN, KwaZulu, Durban. And now that they have got like a whole IPO that has successfully gone on and flourished a company and it's made it public, yeah, there is an anomaly in the numbers of the organization because something is causing the company to bleed, and it's called gender-based violence. Their strategy is falling apart, and now some of the men who run this or who are part of this organization are also members of parliament. They're also people who run the nation, you guys. And so because they run the country, ain't nobody out here going to be respected as a member of parliament of a country where there is an issue with gender-based violence on the ground. And they're not dealing with it. They have got to basically send a report back to the United Nations. They've got to send a report back to the G12 or whatever. They've got to send a report back to Amnesty International. They've got to send a report back to humanitarian organizations across the world. They have got to look globally responsible as a country. After all, who wants apartheid volume 2.0, where we're being sanctioned as a land due to the fact that we've got barbaric practices on the ground? They've got to look like they're dealing with it. They've got to look like the fact that, well, fine, there is an epidemic of crime in our countries, but it is not rooted in like the governmental level where it is that we're refusing to do anything about it. So granted that these men cannot let themselves look bad, and on top of that, albeit belonging to a violently nefarious organization, it is deceptive, it is froward, it is out here decimating the entire futures of young black bright girls. Irrespective of this, the random hypocrites will sit around a bonfire and be patriotic. They will thoroughly be acting in a way so as to decimate a country's entire clout. But hey, I'm proudly South African, waving a nasty little flag all up in everybody's grill. So being patriotic, it basically means they don't want their country crashing with bad stats. And gender-based violence is a bad statistic. They did not intend for men to become little butchering thieves. They did not intend for men to become little homicidal creeps. They did not intend for men to become Hannibal Lecter and Jack the Ripper. They're not trying to proliferate the statistics of the country in crime. And so therefore, when these little randos that went and consulted their satanic organization joining it in order to subdue women to a Stepford constitution, when they became a little barbaric to a point of murder, they were like, but boys, why are you killing? Come on, you're killing what our cult is trying to do. You're killing what we're trying to achieve. What we're trying to achieve is a patriarchy that is responsibly taking care of women, the larger majority of these women, while these women are happy to just serve us and be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. We don't want to see all their brains splattered on the wall. We just want to see their brains being used to raise children. So please, let's go bolaya. But they're not able to cause these men to stay their hands from killing their wives. And so what are they doing? Distracting the attention away from the butchering Hannibal Lecter that they have created. Bakritle Frankenstein out of South African men that they have recruited all the way in high schools. This like epidemic of hatred of women has grooved its ugly, dirty fingers, Izzy Grabby, that have not washed their hands for 5 whole days in a row, despite eating Dijon the entire time, into high schools. There are 2 teenage boys that are were friends of my sister's when she was a teenager. These 2 other teenage boys rocked up here and I had a conversation with them briefly, and their hatred, even though they adored me seeing as I was an older sister, their hatred for girls in their schools, especially the smart ones, was just unexplainable. I never used to struggle with that in school. If at all we were all academics, we kind of respected each other, but now there is an epidemic of young black boys hating black girls for simply having the prospects of a future that looks bright, just looking as if though they one day could graduate magna cum laude at a university, since they are busy kicking the buttock of the honors roll in high school. They can't stand them from that level. That never used to be the case, Mankula. Never. So this thing has reared its ugly head. It's gotten to the level of high school. And so if high school boys are now being made to hate girls this much, Lento Lena is going to result in younger and younger murders of women. That's why there are what do you call this, butcherings of university students, where this like nonsense, gender-based violence, it tended to kind of start Ike Turner. who's married to a 32-year-old Tina Turner type setup thing. Yeah. And now you're finding it on high school playgrounds. Now you are finding it in the res Tsakodi University, where these guys are butchering women. The hatred has been infiltrated, taken down to the youth. And now, if at all it is in high schools, it's ultimately going to go to primary schools. And when then it is in primary schools, we are looking at summer camps, much like those for Hamas. Children who are trained to hate the Jews from a very early age, like taught how to shoot a gun at just the tender age of 11. We are dealing with child soldiers, and if you can get to the boys at that little age with that kind of misogynistic mindset, it's over for girls of the country. It's over. We're going to be dealing with boys shooting their girlfriends on the school playground at just 16. I think that's already happening. That's what's good. So basically, this cult has manufactured a whole bunch of violence inside young men against women. And it is a collateral damage. It is an unintended consequence. It is a side effect that is very unseemly. And they are trying to deal with it by making women look like they're the ones that are to blame. So instead of stopping, frankly, they should pull the plug on this thing. But to them, it's like, no, it was working. We just need to tweak some settings. We need to tweak some settings. And the way that they are tweaking these settings is by, remember, I told you, this was originally a patriarchal, a male, misogynistic, chauvinistic, hugely intended to decimating black girls' futures in favor of putting them in a house pregnant and cooking, with them having no other ambition. Yeah, that was the initial intention. So for such a cult as this, there is no way under heaven you can ever imagine that any woman will ever fit in there, no matter how butch she is, no matter how much of a, what do they call them? These chicks that are always rocking like male stuff, they call them whatever. Yeah, a tomboy. Yeah, no matter how much this chick is a tomboy, no matter how much she is out here transitioning, trying to be a man, no matter how much she's got a deep voice, no matter how much she's always taping her breasts down so they don't show, no matter how much she walks around with a bounce like a gangster, no matter how much her pants come down underneath her buttocks looking like a gangster in the street, it doesn't matter. She cannot have lady parts, she cannot have breasts, she cannot have mammary glands, she cannot have ovaries, and she cannot bleed once a month. If at all an individual is bleeding once a month, you can forget about her belonging to this organization, because at the end of the day, a woman is a woman is a woman, made in the image of God to be a woman, and no woman, even if they want to be a man and are transitioning, will ever be content with that level of misogyny against their kind. No woman, no matter how much of a tomboy they might be, will ever take in their stride, ever, that level of violence against women. No mufunu kuibindota. Even if you're a lesbian of like monumental proportions that is also a tomboy, even if you feel like you are born in the wrong body and you need to go and transition today, you will never be content for as long as you were born with mammary glands and a soft little voice and like a whole lady part. You will never think that now that you're transitioning over to being a man, that women suck. They can never under heaven exist. A truly misogynistic woman, she can never exist. As long as you have been born a woman, you will never incline towards misogyny, even if you wish you were a guy. So they could never recruit females, because it will never work. It'll never work unless you bring them into your organization in order to flip the narrative. And that's what these guys did. They saw the increase of gender-based violence in the country. They saw the misandry it caused in women. They saw how much their little company strategy, their value proposition was falling apart. Their mission statement was no longer making sense. It was glitching, twitching. It was coming at you with an epileptic fit on the floor, rolling around, losing its wits. They saw that their strategy cannot be continuously proliferated when their Frankenstein keeps on butchering women. So they have to find a way to shift the blame. They have to find a way to shift the blame. And the way that they're going to do that is by creating Cinderella, right? A phenomenon of women that under normal circumstances would have been okay. They would have been thriving. They would have been doing well. But they've got such little support from their ecosystem that they end up just kind of scrubbing floors and living such a hard knock life like Annie. What a poor little orphan. And upon living that hard knock life, oh my goodness, is Rabobi just not the perfect guy to rock up? They are creating a Hegelian dialectic, basically causing disaster on the ground so you can rock up and save the day, much like what the global elites are doing right now with Agenda 2030. Hegelian dialectic, decimated and then rock up and patch it up with sticky tape. They are making women poor so they can come and rescue them, but these women have got to be impoverished by women. And so herein lies the madam brothel Herein lies the human trafficking, like random decoy lady at the airport that you're gonna trust fast before you will ever follow some strange eerie looking guy who is asking you to show him Terminal 4, which is actually really the end of your life. It's terminal. That's what's good. So what's happening right now is that around maybe like the mid 2010s, like 2014-15, they went on a massive recruitment drive to get certain kinds of women into their organizations. Certain kinds of women into their organizations. And these women had to be a particular way, okay? They had to be credulous, gullible, essentially, right? That was important. They had to leave a lot to be desired concerning their moral compass. It could go any way, really. Loose-ish, you know? Like, yeah, I'm negotiable. They needed that kind of girl. Loose morals, credulous, or gullible. She also had to have some kind of lack or want in her life. That is so severe and so extreme that she would be prepared to do anything to escape it, even if it's only marginally. And fourthly, they had to be excruciatingly ambitious, however not where they want to be in life. Alright, so women who know exactly what they want, ABC, but are nowhere near even getting a pin drop in the ocean of A. Not even just a small little fraction of A. Are they any way to getting it? So frustrated with where they're at in life, knowing what they want, credulous, so gullible. What is this? Loose morals. It could go both ways. And also with some kind of lack in their lives. And these females, they have been recruiting them all over. Like proper, trying to, you know, the occult drives, you know what it is. Like a new company that has just burgeoned, grown, like effervescently. And like they need new help. They've been recruiting women in this regard. The women that they've been recruiting also had to be black. They had to be black because their mission is against black women, and they understand that black women are most likely to have black friends, black females in their lives. They are not targeting colored women, white women, whatever, because the strategy is literally against just black girls. They just want to subdue black women. It's black women they can't stand. They could not care less about everybody else. It's us they want to brittle. It's us they don't want to be successful. So now can you see how devastating this is as a strategy? Because thoroughly, you go to high school with like Fatima, the Indian girl, and Carol, the white chick, and all three of you are A students, and you are competing for grades, and you are always neck on neck. And when you get to universities, you are entering, all of you, into the best universities in the country. You are basically earmarked to constantly be neck and neck all throughout your lives. When you bump into Fatima and Carol at 35, you answer, hi Fatima, Carol, so nice to see you. After all these years, what are you doing? Knowing very well that you're trying to measure yourself as to where you ended up in comparison to Fatima and Carol, because you've been competing with that Indian girl since high school and that white girl since high school, because all of y'all were on the same league academically. And now here it is that you're barefoot pregnant in a kitchen, unprepared to get a career, while Carol and Fatima are running entire corporations. What in the world is that going to make out of black women in comparison to everybody else? The stats of the country when it comes to the success of black girls will tank. Something that last time I checked was a mission statement by the country's government to get black girls to a certain level, and yet literally this cult is setting black women up for failure. Two, even though they were neck on neck with other academic girls in school, high school, they're now just going to be making motoho for some children and some husband with no other ambition, even though you used to slay them science limits. That's what they're trying to do. It's literally like shooting yourself in the foot, but guess what? They are hypocritical patriots. They are trying to get barefoot and pregnant, like A students in their houses. They are trying to get barefoot and pregnant women that are supposed to go and be paradigm shifters in this world, chilling in their kitchens, going nowhere but there, seeing nothing but the back of a baby's mired bottom 7, 12, 13 times over, because that is the black man's dream. While there is nothing wrong with looking at mired diapers for 12 years because you keep on popping those babies, if it's what you want, do you. It is so admirable to be a mother. I frankly wanted that. But if a woman wants to get her own, and a guy is telling her, fela, year on year, even though your matric certificate, now the distinction is A5. Yes, like it. What in the world? Like, what in the world? That is a carnage on like the prosperity of a country, never mind its women. And it is also a travesty on the part of the black girls of the land. This is what is coming to your daughters. Do you understand? This is what's coming. And the way that they are trying to achieve these misogynists, proper lento le ikale kwi Shaka Zulu, like proper him with his spear ne peshu yakhe. They went by your infiltrator, Xhosa tribes. They went and infiltrated Tswana, Sotho, Zulu, and King, what is this, Venda? Everywhere else where the issue of misogyny was not so bad. Lamazulu, Bavele, Shaga, everywhere. So Peshu and bash our bodies on the floor, our booties. Kodi dancing. The children busy like salivating after us. Because at the end of the day, it turns out that misogyny is well trained. It's taught. A man can teach this rubbish to his what is this, to his friend, and his friend will see where he's coming from. They got so many clients from other tribes across the country that it displayed that the issue in Jafela is just a problem with black men. Why the prosperity of Basadi? But you know what, we are done over here. Like Skadil, you are no longer worthy of discussion, Krisham. Filangati, like dropping you off somewhere bus stop for you to go and take a one-way ticket to Limpopo or Lau Pumakona. That's what you deserve. Because you rock up like Josie Maboneng and you grab a woman like proper that's trying to grab her career and tell her do la fats. What? Just because you're a man? I am all for gender roles. I am a Christian. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I can never ever hate God's patriarchy, but it was never intended to lord it over women with an iron fist. Not like that. Kimo, they have muddied the whole country. Kashaga Zulu. Who in the world wants that gangster anyway? Nasa Basadi, isn't it? Azanganyan, Maronali busy, and the proliferator his nonsense all over the show. Anyway, whatever, do you, right? Yeah, you know how Shaga was obsessed with his mom and that's all he did? Aren't you all like little Oedipuses, hanging out with your mamas, liking your mamas, but hating your girlfriends? Like ransacking them females? Lebo Shaga, go fela go pani Oedipus. Do you? Mara as for me, angisas bailes kelem. Hakiva tepe, banawa toran to lema wakati especially from South Africa. Uskatum sang ebilang lower wako America, ebatung, hubala hukana, nanka sikhonakir. Anyway, whatever. These men made a decision in the little organization Cult Yabona. That grew in popularity because they discovered that the misogyny runs a lot deeper than just them in KwaZulu-Natal, therefore making it clear that it's not just the Zulus, but frankly not anyway, whatever. Here it is that this like batch of drunkards, alright, decide to go and create a Cinderella phenomenon in the country in order that what do you call this thing? That their little bad reputation for just like being butchers, like creating a little bit of a Frankenstein all over the show, might be overcome. Yeah, that women will start to trust them more and more because they're coming to the party more and more. So the way to fix gender-based violence is by creating non-gender-based violence. Yeah, so women who kill, proper. Now they're trying to go and grab women and put them on TLC, that show called Snapped, Women Who Kill. Women that are out there making like serial killers. You know that it is a statistic, right? That men generally are the ones that kill the most, to a point where if at all women are killing, it has like it is in dire need of a documentary because it's that much of a rare occurrence. And here it is that the occult is trying to create women that are snapped and kill. They're trying to create Monster, Charlize Theron in the movie Monster. They are trying to create little mini assassins out of Abafazi. Hey Batong, you are like you're in danger with God. Black men, lemokotsing, lemomolong, hey batong, lemomafurang achang, and just like mafura thing, you're about to jump up and down for nonsense like you are causing women to become little prolific assassins. You are creating murderers out of women. Allow me to describe to you what little homicidal intent dwells very richly now in women in South Africa that I nonetheless could not care less is dwelling in women because I understand it's a root cause. It's a root cause men. That is why I am always seeing myself being murdered like Rieva Steenkamp. That is why I'm always seeing myself being murdered like Tsegofatse Pule, like Karabo Mokoena, like the one woman at my former at MTN that got killed, butchered by her boyfriend, cut into a whole bunch of pieces. God keeps on showing me that woman. Even though I wake up and I dream about some cult little gangster female that's out here in these streets trying to pull the rug from underneath my feet. And I'm like, God, if at all I'm Rieva Steenkamp, how in the world am I Rieva Steenkamp? For crying out loud, when I am being massacred by my female cousin. And this here is an explanation. She is a puppet on a string, unbeknownst to herself, to proliferate an incredibly misogynistic agenda in the country, however making that particular cult look good at the expense of women. They're trying to recoup their reputations. Do you understand what I'm saying? By making women look like they are the ones that every other woman is in dire need of being rescued from. Banna, basadi are nurturers of your societies. That's how God created it. When you take away the nurturing edge from women and cause them to be selfish, every man for himself randos, you are killing entire societies. Do you understand what I'm saying? Who is going to take care of the children if she's busy focusing on her own selfish ambitions, given that she is credulous and is not where she needs to get in life, however, has got loose morals, and so will go and curse the entire family just to get ahead? Who is going to take care of your villagers? It's been us. That's why we live longest. We are able to take care of people when all of y'all are busy being dangerous and throwing yourselves off buildings in a sporting dare. That's what you do. You are living on the edge as men, because it's what you are. Bashing your chest on a mountaintop, drinking too much, dying from car accidents because you drive too fast. That's what you do. We gotta be more tempered. We gotta be more genteel. We have got to be more chill so everybody else can be okay. So when you create little Frankenstein rando atoms vibrating on the spot, bouncing up and down on walls, massacring entire communities out of women, it's over for the earth, don't you see? You're bringing about the apocalypse. It is not sustainable, if at all. Both men and women are like Sia swinging on a chandelier, on a chandelier. There is no future for the whole country. We are the still waters. We are the tranquilizer. We're the thing that defibrillates a dying thing from dead. We nurture societies and we stay calm when everything is falling apart. That even though we may nag, we're still nagging in the household where the children are at. Whereas when you get upset, you go to the bar, you drink, and you get in a fight there, and you might even die that same night. While the woman is still nagging, but taking care of her kids while nagging, irritating the kids, but she's still home. And so the kids feel a sense of safety. That's a woman. But a woman that is going to go out to the bar and be androgynous just like you as a man. No. She's going to go and get killed herself, and so now the kids are orphaned. Who in the world is going to take care of the world? Men. When women have lost their womanness. Who? You are swinging on a chandelier, be the only ones to do so. While women are then going to put back together the little ornaments of the chandelier after you have stopped swinging on it. But as for you, you swing on a chandelier and leave it there to continue to be loose on the ceiling. And so when the little toddler is running across the lounge the next morning, it falls on her. The woman is the one that makes sure that that chandelier is screwed back into the ceiling, because she's the one that's always looking around to see if the ecosystem is cool. And so when you make little buzzing atoms out of women that are also homicidal like you, every toddler in every household is going to get landed on by a freaking chandelier. Let's move to the next part.